Today's main focus is going to be all about your shooting, different things that I see players do wrong, different things that I see that players can improve on, and I've had the pleasure of working with hundreds of thousands of athletes and doing a lot of shot breakdowns online, so I know what the most common mistakes are and how to fix them. So let's take a look at some of the most common shooting mistakes that you might have, so that way you can see if you're shooting the right way, the wrong way, or how you can improve your shooting. For starters, you want the ball to start low, your body to start low, and as the ball rises, your body will follow. You do not want the ball to rise as your body drops. This is poor rhythm. You're going to need to take the time to record yourself and see if you have any of these issues, but do not allow that ball to go up as your body's going down. A good way to fix this is to get a chair and to start by sitting on the chair low with the ball on your knee and then rise together, or you could put the ball down on the chair and then start to rise and finish in one fluid motion from there without having any hitches or without dropping your hips any lower than what you started at. Take a look at just my left wrist here. It's nice on the side of the ball where we want it to be, but as I bring the ball up, a lot of players will often turn that wrist and then have the wrist pointed to the rim and push the ball with two hands. You want to always have the least amount of movements in your shot to have the most consistency. So one way that we can go ahead and fix that is if we get our guide hand here on the ball, we can take our index finger and our thumb completely off the ball. And now when we go ahead and shoot it, we can have the least amount of movements there and allow that ball to go up, just snapping one wrist and having less variables. The next common problem that I see a lot is when the player goes up to shoot it, they don't actually snap the wrist all the way. So they stop short and their fingers are more pointed towards the rim here instead of pointed to the ground. A lot of these ways, there's no easy tricks or fix or any sort of drill to fix it, but if you record yourself and you really stay conscious of it, and then you can go ahead and record yourself later, just really focus on building that one thing and making sure that you snap the wrist every single time. The next common issue we'll see is flaring elbows. And oftentimes this is just a product of your hand placement. And if you can get your hands in a better spot, your elbows won't flare as much. But one way that you can get rid of this is to put a person or put a block or to put something, some sort of wall right next to you. So that way you can keep your elbows from flaring. A lot of times this is really good just to sit down while you do this so you can isolate the upper half of your body. Next, you want your feet pointed either straight to the rim or slightly offset, but not this much. Once you pass 12 o'clock and 11 o'clock and you get moving towards 10 or 9 o'clock with your feet turned, that's too much. It makes it difficult to get into certain shots, especially going in one direction where you have to turn your feet all the way in the other direction. So I would suggest that you get as square as possible and try to keep conscious of it and land on your toes. That's going to be the easiest way to fix it. For most of these fixes, you'll simply have to record yourself, see where your errors are, and then continue to shoot and shoot and shoot, staying conscious of your mistakes until you can fix them. Here I'm demonstrating a hitch in your shot, which a lot of players have, and of course it's terrible for fluidity, going up, kind of pausing or moving back down and shooting on the way down. You want to start that ball on your knee and then go straight up from there in one fluid motion. Like I said earlier, just record yourself and do the best you can at staying conscious of it so you can go ahead and fix it. You don't want that ball to be outside of your frame either, and then thrust it and get your arms to cross your face. The more that you can keep your body straight up and straight down, it's going to be a lot better for your shot, with a lot less movement going from one side to the other side. Another common problem that I'll see is players' hands will hit each other at the end of their shot, and this is of course something that you never want to have happen. It means that you have a lot of offhand involvement in your shot and you're shooting it across your face using more power than necessary, when in reality you need to get that power drawn from your hips and from your legs. So what you can do is try to take your offhand off the ball, like I've explained earlier, taking your thumb and your index off the ball and then attempting to release straight and focus on not allowing your hands to hit each other. The next focus here is that ball should stay in front of your forehead. If you can get that ball to keep in front of your forehead, you'll have much better fluidity. You never want it to go to the side of your head and then be launched and released from there. And you also never want it to go on top of your head either. Even though I'm shooting the ball correctly here, you don't want your guide hand to pull too far forward next to your shooting hand or to be above it. This pulls your shoulder too far forward as well and can hinder your ability to stay aligned to the basket. But the more that you can go up in your shot and then keep it open here, you can see a little bend in my guide hand. It will be a lot better for your shot, so that way you can have less involvement with it. When shooting, try to avoid any circular motion or any motion that strays away from the ball coming up straight up and down. You might be able to gain a little more power from your circular motion, but you will not have enough accuracy. I highly suggest that you start really close to the basket when working on your form, and then slowly move back from there as you develop the right mechanics. Then you will eventually gain power with those mechanics. Now you can see here when I shoot, I want my shooting thumb either aligned with my right eyeball or with my nose. Those are going to be okay. But if I bring it to my left eye, or I bring it to my right ear, or I bring it to my left ear, that's going to be way too far outside of the frame that I want that ball and the path that I want it to come in. You want your shooting thumb either going straight through your eyeball there, or just right next to it, a little bit offset to the right or a little bit offset to the left. But once it reaches the left eyeball, or once it reaches your ears, it has gone too far off the shot line. You also don't want to have your shooting hand in front of the ball, because this causes your wrist not to be loaded as well and forces unnecessary and extra movements. Do your best to start with a little bit of a wrinkle in your wrist and then go straight up from there. Putting your hands on the side of the ball does the same thing as well. It forces unnecessary and extra movements. However, if you have a ton of wrist tension, you can slightly move your hand over to the side, but you still want it to be as centered as possible. You'll probably have to be an index finger shooter, putting your index finger in the middle instead of splitting the middle. Do not have a drastic dip in your shoulder as well. And like I mentioned before, there's no secret formula or drills to help you to get rid of these issues. You just have to record yourself and be very conscious to make sure that you no longer do them. Do a ton of form shooting right next to the basket. You normally see people with the issue of flared elbows, but sometimes you see people with an issue where their elbow is too far in. And what you don't want to have happen here is my wrist is not pointed to the rim. If I can have my wrist pointed to the rim, my forearm pointed to the rim, that's going to be a lot straighter of a shot. As I mentioned earlier, I'm okay with people bringing that ball where their shooting thumb goes through their nose. However, you cannot allow this to let your shooting wrist turn towards the outside or towards the inside. Get that wrist to snap straight down and have your fingers pointed back to the ground. I really hope that this video was helpful to you and that you're able to see some glaring issues in your shot that you can fix to become a much better shooter. If you haven't already, make sure that you leave a like if this video helped you, and subscribe and turn on post notifications if you haven't already, because I'm dropping a ton of new content, ton of drills and tips and different ways to help you guys to succeed. I want to give you guys as much content as I can and as much tips and drills and things that I can to help you guys to reach your goals. Now, for those of you who want me to specifically look at your shot and to tell you what to fix in your shot, you can send me a DM on Instagram at R2Bball, and I do shooting breakdowns there. It is a really good price, it's fairly cheap, and it's a great way to have a professional look at your shot and tell you exactly what you need to fix. But until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video.